Break it down. Hey, how you folks doing? Welcome back to the Young Globalist, and it's time for your independently independent news. Except since you're getting it from me, you're not getting it independently because you're not independent from me. Alright, folks. This is news from yesterday, November 5th's news. Just want to follow up on the news from yesterday, because I was too busy yesterday and I couldn't do it. Anyway. So, the U.S. troops have set up barbed wire fences at the border to help keep migrants out. Yes. Yeah. Turns out that border situation is not getting as crazy as I thought it was going to be. This is a late update. I apologize for that. If the migrants were smart, they'd just stay away. Because the setup they got down there is brutally efficient, and they're not going to get through. They're going to get pepper sprayed, tear gassed, rubber bulleted. Like I said, we're a completely different beast from Mexico. Barbed wire fences, guns, soldiers. There's just no way for them to get in here. This is going to be an impenetrable fortress. I'm not racist against Mexicans, but you know what? Trump is amazing. Trump is amazing. He's not a pushover. Whether Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, whatever you are, Trump is not a pushover, so don't underestimate him. No, sir. It is precisely because of Trump that we are a different beast from Mexico, and for that matter, a different beast from what we used to be. However, Trump did say something about the barbed wire being beautiful. Barbed wire is kind of exciting. It makes you think of violence. You know, if you've ever seen an ECW barbed wire match. Gee, connecting Donald Trump and pro wrestling. But barbed wire is not beautiful. It's ugly and violent, but not beautiful. It's just a strange comment. Maybe beautiful in its effectiveness. Yeah, they're not getting in here. There's just no way. It's just a cold reminder of how brutally efficient our military is. God, I'm glad I'm a U.S. citizen right now. So glad that I'm not going to be on the other side of that force. Moving on. So, the United States destroyer was exercising its right of free movement through the water near some artificial islands established by the Chinese. Now, they have the right to move about freely near there, but apparently the Chinese ship, a nearby Chinese destroyer, did not agree. There was a brief message sent via radio from one ship to the other. The Chinese ship warning them to steer clear and not exercise their rights of free movement and not get too close to Chinese territory, but the U.S. ship disagreed, cited protocol, and the Chinese ship ignored it. In fact, the Chinese ship was being a humongous dick, a Mobius dickus, and decided to release its flaps for ramming and just ram the U.S. ship and try to push it away. Which, by the way, was not approved by the Chinese government. It's just something they did because they felt it was appropriate at the time. The captain of the ship was probably a giant Chinese asshole, a Mobius dickus, a humongous dick. Now, let's talk about these artificial islands. I don't know much about them other than that, well, they're artificial islands. Apparently they're man-made. Now, they could be drawn up from under the water via windmills or some other technology, or they're completely man-made from artificial means. Either way, it's obvious that because China's ridiculously huge population that they'd want to create some extra space, which I am totally for. What I'm not for is them being all uber defensive about it. And honestly, the Chinese have pulled the shit like this before. I mean, you've got planes also exercising their right of free movement, doing flyovers over the artificial islands, and the U.S. and the Chinese freaking out over it, over the U.S. plane presence. What is it with the Chinese? We have the right. We're not attacking them. We're just maneuvering. It's like, why don't Asians in general understand this? Because North Korea and Japan pull the same nonsense. The only Asian country that seems to get us at all is South Korea. And even then, that's never really a given. I just think the Chinese are being huge dicks about what is clearly outlined in U.S. and international protocol. Moving on. Trump wants to provide maximum criminal penalty. Maximum criminal penalty. There we go. For voter fraud. Basically wants maximum punishment for voter fraud. The maximum of what the law will allow. And also wanting there to be voter ID when voting takes place. Now, believe it or not, I actually support this move. Extreme moves like this from Trump I normally do not support or approve. But this one in particular I do, because voter fraud has been used to get many a Democrat into office when they didn't deserve to be. Some Republicans have done it, but Democrats have done it more often than not. They've even pulled names from dead people out of mortuaries, for crying out loud. It's ridiculous. So, ID the voters, make sure that they are who they are, and for voter fraud, the maximum punishment. Fully support. I think it's a good idea. Because you do not want voter fraud to be a thing. It's just not something you want. This will be good for overall, because then we'll finally start getting accurate polls and accurate voting, and maybe this country will be less of a mess as a result. I will totally show my ID, because I'm not a hypocrite. I will show my ID when I vote, if it comes to that. I will show it proudly. It's like, I am who I am. So, Trump, good on you, dude. Moving on. Beto O'Rourke could make it to Senate. Beto O'Rourke could make it into the Senate. The voting and the polls are looking pretty favorable for his entry against Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is losing. Why not? He lost the presidency. He doesn't seem like much of a winner. Yep. Although, it is kind of helped by the fact that crazy Beto O'Rourke fans would run over glass to go to the voting booth. At least, that's how Ted Cruz put it. That was his quote. Now, I haven't particularly witnessed that myself. But if there's anything good about Ted Cruz, is that he is painfully honest at times. The guy means what he says, and I think that it's probably quite true that Beto O'Rourke fans could be experiencing the political equivalent of what is essentially Beatlemania for their favorite politician in the current race for, I believe, the governancy of Florida. Anyway, that's for November 5th's reporting. I'm sorry for being overdue. Like I said, I was really busy yesterday. But that intro is amazing, right? Anyway, that's about all, folks. Tschüss.